All right, this is the end of module review. We are going to go through everything we've learned, okay, and just do some practice problems with it. All right, so the first section, we are going to write the rules for integer operations below. So we're going to do our rules for adding, our subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. We're going to do all four of those rules. We're going to write them down. Now you have a foldable that you can look at for these rules. We wrote them down in that foldable. So for adding, there are two different scenarios. You can have numbers that have the same signs, so both positive or both negative. If you have same signs, you are simply going to add the numbers together and then keep the sign of the larger. Now, if you have opposite signs, you are like one positive, one negative. You are going to subtract the two numbers, but you're still going to keep the sign of the larger. So those are your adding rules. Now, subtracting, there are three key words that we keep talking about, and that is leave, change, change. What that means is leave the first number, change subtraction to addition, change the second number to its opposite, and once you do that, then you're going to use your adding rules. So you're going to add the two numbers together. All right, multiplication. We use something for multiplication called SPON, S-P-O-N. And what that stands for is same signs will have a positive answer. So numbers that have the same sign will have a positive answer. Opposite signs, so one of each, will have a negative answer. All right, and the last one is division. Division is going to be the same thing as multiplication. So SPON, same signs, positive answer, opposite signs, negative answer. Now we're going to use these rules. I'm going to go down here and we're going to actually answer some questions. No calculator, straight up using the rules. So first one, 20 times negative 6, parentheses mean multiplication. So 20 times 6 is 120. Now opposite signs means our answer is negative. Number 2, okay, we have 84 divided by 12. I should say negative 84 divided by negative 12. Now, when I do 84 divided by 12, I get 7. These are same signs, so it's going to be a positive 7. Number 3 is negative 21 times negative 7. So when I multiply those two numbers together, I get 147. Those are same signs, so positive answer. All right, now adding. I have two different signs here, a positive and a negative. So opposite signs means I'm going to subtract. 18 minus 12 is 6. 18 is bigger. 18 is positive. All right, number 5. This is a subtraction problem. This is actually the only one that you need to show your work for. So we're going to leave negative 28. Change subtraction to addition. Negative 13 becomes positive 13. So now I have opposite signs, so I'm going to subtract 28 minus 13. Okay, I'm going to do the math, is 15. 28 is bigger, 28 is negative. Number 6, again, we have opposite signs, so we're going to subtract. 15 minus 10 is 5. 15 is bigger, so 15 is negative. All right, negative 64 divided by 8. Remember, fractions mean division, so 64 divided by 8 is 8. Opposite signs means negative answer. Number 8, 120 minus 140. Now we're subtracting again, so we're going to leave 120. Change subtraction to addition. 140 becomes negative 140. So now they have opposite signs, so I'm going to subtract that. I get 20. 140 is bigger, 140 is negative. All right, last one, opposite signs when we're adding, we actually subtract. 52 minus 52 is 0. They're the same sign, so therefore they are, 0 doesn't have a sign. They are not the same signs. They're opposite signs, but there's not a bigger number. All right, so now let's talk about working with numbers that have more than 2 terms. We're going to use PEMDAS, just meaning that we're going to go from left to right, okay? So if we're adding 3 numbers, we're going to take 2 numbers at a time. So 3 and negative 9. You're still going to use your adding rules. These have opposite signs, so we're going to subtract. 9 minus 3 is 6. 9 is bigger, 9 is negative. Now we're going to bring everything else down. All right, so now we're going to add negative 6 plus 8. Again, opposite signs we subtract, so 8 minus 6 is 2. 8 is bigger, 8 is positive. So my answer for that first one would be positive 2. Number 11, 5 and negative 4. Opposite signs we're going to subtract, so 5 minus 4 is 1. 5 is bigger, 5 is positive. Now, 1 minus 2. Now we have a subtraction problem, so we're going to do leave, change, change. So 1 plus negative 2, these are opposite signs, so subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 is bigger, 2 is negative. So my answer is negative 1. Number 12. Okay, we're going to take 3 times negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Opposite signs, negative answer. Now bring down that negative 1. 6 times 1 is 6. These have the same sign, so now we get a positive answer. All right, same with number 13. We're going to take negative 8 and negative 4 first. So that's 32. Same signs, positive answer. Now bring down the negative 2. So 32 times negative 2 would be 64. Opposite signs means that you have a negative answer when you're multiplying. Number 14, 8 divided by negative 2. Division comes before addition, so 8 divided by negative 2 is 4. Opposite signs means it's negative. Now bring down the plus 3. Opposite signs means we're going to subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 is bigger, 4 is negative. All right, so next we have number 15. This is a word problem that we're going to have to set up and actually add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So number 15 says a certain stock gained 5 points in one day, lost 4 points the next. So gained means that that's going to be a positive 5. Lost means that we're going to add a negative 4. When I do 5 plus negative 4, they're opposite signs, so I subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. 5 is bigger, so that means they would still be up 1 point today. Number 16. On December 24th, 1924, the temperature in Fairfield, Montana fell from 63 to negative 21. What is the difference between the highest and the lowest? So the highest is 63. The lowest is negative 21. Now, in math, difference means we're going to subtract. So we're going to show our work for this. We're going to leave 63, change to a plus sign. Negative 21 becomes positive 21. And then we're going to add. This would be 84 degrees. So the difference between the highest and the lowest would be 84 degrees. All right, number 17. Mr. Smith parked his car in a garage 23 feet below sea level, or street level. Below means that that's going to be a negative 23. He got into the elevator, went up 112. How far above street level is his office? So he started at negative 23, and then he went up 112 feet. Now, we have opposite signs here, so we're going to subtract 112 minus 23, which gives us 89. 112 is bigger, which means he's only 89 feet above street level. Number 18, the temperature outside is currently 18 degrees. The temperature drops 24 degrees. What's the new temperature? So it started at 18, we're going to go down or subtract 24 degrees. So we're going to do leave, change, change. Opposite signs means we're going to subtract. Now 24 is bigger, 24 is negative. So now it is negative 6 degrees. All right, number 19. This one is asking what has the same value as 5 minus 8. Now I'm going to just point out this is a subtraction sign here. So that means there's some work that we can do. We can leave the 5. That becomes a plus sign. 8 becomes negative 8. That is the same exact thing as 5 minus 8. Now if you look at your choices, you can see that 5 plus negative 8 is a choice, which is what they are looking for. So all they want you to do is leave, change, change. All right, number 20. Altitude above sea level is given in positive values, below sea level is given in negative values. So which situation describes a hiker in Death Valley stopping at an altitude of 0? So if he starts at negative 10, that's 10 feet below, and goes up 10 feet, he will actually be at 0. That should be the answer. Let's just make sure. Part B. Hiker starts at negative 10 and goes down 10 feet. Well, then he would be 10 feet lower, which would be negative 20. Hiker starts at 10 and then goes up, he'd be at 20. And the hiker starts at 0, then goes down, he would be at negative 10. So it is choice A. All right, so now let's get to our fraction rules. We are going to write our fraction rules for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing right in the boxes. We're just going to take some quick notes on this, okay? Nothing extensive. Let's talk about how when you are adding, you need to make sure that you have a common denominator because you're going to be adding the numerator. So make sure in adding you have a common denominator. And actually that is the same thing in subtracting. You need to have a common denominator when you're subtracting. Now for multiplying, it's pretty simple. You can cross cancel if you want to. Otherwise, you are just going to multiply the numerators, the top numbers, and then you're going to multiply the denominator. So you're going to do both of them separately unless you want to cross cancel. Now division, there are some rules for division that we have to remember, which is leave, change, flip. Now remember, or keep, change, flip. Remember that means you're going to keep the first fraction as is, change it to multiplication, and flip the second fraction. So let's take a look at the first one, 21. So we do have a common denominator when we're adding. So we're adding the top numbers, negative 3 plus 2. Now they're opposite signs, so we're going to subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. The denominator always stays the same. Now 3 is a bigger number, 3 is negative, so my answer is negative 1/5. Now number 22 we are adding again, but we do not have a common denominator, so I'm going to make that common denominator. So 12 is our common denominator. So for the first fraction to get 12, I need to multiply by 4. So I'm going to multiply the top number by 4, which is 32. Now I'm just going to keep that negative sign. The second number I'm going to multiply by 3, so 1 times 3 is 3, and now I'm going to add the numerators. They are opposite signs, so I'm going to subtract. That gives me 29. Keep the denominator. 32 is bigger, 32 is negative. Now, 12 does go into 29, so I'm going to make this a mixed number. It goes in twice. That would be 24. So there's 5 left over, so my mixed number would be negative 2 and 5/12. All right, number 23. This time we have subtraction. So before we do anything, we need to do leave, change, change. Now these have common denominators, so we're just going to add the numerators. 3 plus 1, or 1 plus 3 is 4 out of 5. And that's my answer. 24, again, we have a subtraction problem, so we're going to leave the first fraction, change subtraction to addition, change negative 5/9 to positive 5/9. Now we're going to make a common denominator. 3 does go into 9, so my common denominator for this one's going to be 9. So the first fraction I have to multiply by 3. The second one is already 9, so we just keep it as is. So I'm going to add 6 plus 5 is 11. And we can change this into a mixed number. 9 goes into 11, not twice, once. There are 2 left over out of 9. All right, 25. We are going to multiply straight across. So 2 times 4 on the top gives me 8. 3 times 9 gives me 27. So multiplication's pretty simple. Number 26, this one we do have to convert that mixed number into an improper fraction. So we're going to multiply 2 times 4 to give me 8, plus 1 is 9 over 2. Now we can multiply straight across. So 9 times 1 is 9. 5 times 2 is 10, so my answer is 9/10. All right, number 27. Now it's division, so we are going to leave the first fraction. Change to multiplication, flip the last fraction. Now it's a multiplication problem, we're going to multiply straight across. So 1 times 8 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12. Now this actually does reduce. So 4 goes into both of those. 4 goes into 8 twice. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and we're going to keep that as a negative answer. They are opposite signs, so negative answer. All right, number 28, we're going to leave 2/5. Change division to multiplication. Flip the second fraction. Make sure you keep that as a negative. I'm going to actually cross cancel here so I don't have to reduce at the end. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 4 twice. I can also do the 5s. 5 goes into 1, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 25 5 times. Now I'm going to multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2. Opposite signs does give us a negative answer. Now I'm going to change this back into a mixed number. 2 goes into 5 twice with 1 left over. So my answer, not negative, that's wrong. Hold on. There we go. That would be over 2. So my answer would be negative 2 1/2. All right, so let's now change over to decimals. We're going to be using long division, so 1/5. Remember, we're going to tip that fraction over. The 1's going to go on the inside, and we're actually going to divide. So 5 goes into 1. It does not. So I'm going to add a decimal, add a 0. 5 goes into 10 twice. Okay, which is 0, so we're actually done. And my answer would be 0.2. That is a terminating decimal. It does stop. There is no remainder after we divide that. All right, how about 2 over 11? So we're going to tip the fraction over. 11 is going to stay on the outside. So we're going to add that decimal point, add that 0. 11 goes into 20 once, which is 11. So now we're going to subtract. We get 9. We're going to bring down a 0. 11 goes into 90 8 times, which is 88. Subtract, you get 2. Bring down a 0. 11 goes into 20 once, which is 11. Subtract, you get 9. Bring down a 0. 11 goes into 90 8 times, which is 88. Subtract, you get 2. All right, so I think we see what's happening here. This is a repeating decimal. So we're going to use bar notation. The 1 and the 8 are repeating. So when you put that bar notation there, you're going to put it over both numbers. All right, 31, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tip the fraction over and we're going to divide. So the 43 is going to go on the inside. Now 12 goes into 43 3 times. When you multiply, you get 36. So we're going to subtract that and we get 7. So we're going to add a decimal place and bring down the 0. So now 12 goes into 75 times, which is 60. When you subtract, you get 10. We're going to add a 0, bring it down. 12 goes into 108 times. So that's 96. When you subtract, you get 4, bring down a 0. Now 12 goes into 40 3 times. Let me move this up so we can keep going. So 40, or 3 times 12 is 36. Subtract. We get 4. Bring down a 0. Okay, we're going to see that this is going to start repeating. So the only number that is repeating here is the 3. So when you look at all the bar notations, the only one that you want the bar over is the 3, which would be choice B. All right, next one. We're going to do the same thing. Okay, we're going to divide 7 by 8. So we're going to tip the fraction over, so the 7's going to go on the inside. Now 8 doesn't go into 7, so we add a decimal, add a 0. 8 goes into 70. That goes 8 times, which is 64. We subtract, we get 6, so we're going to add a 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times, which is 56. Subtract, you get 4. Bring down a 0. And 8 goes into 45 times. So let's read our choices here. This is a decimal. It does terminate, so it is not repeating. And it terminates after 3 places, 8, 7, 5. All right, and now we're going to talk about using PEMDAS in multi-step problems. So let's just remind ourselves what PEMDAS stands for. So this is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Now, I'm just going to remind you that multiplication and division is from left to right, and addition and subtraction is from left to right. All right, so we're going to go from left to right with this division. So we're going to work on these first. So negative 5/9 times negative 3/1. I just did leave, change, flip. I am going to cross cancel this. So when I multiply, they are both the same sign, so we're going to get a positive answer, and I'm going to multiply 5 times 1 is 5, 3 times 1 is 3. Now, I need to bring this down, so that would be negative 2 1/2. I'm actually going to change that to an improper fraction. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Now I'm going to multiply straight across. So negative 5 times positive 5 is negative 25. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I do want to change that back into a mixed number. So 6 goes into 25 4 times with 1 left over. So my answer is negative 4 1/6. All right, and next one, we're going to do division. Now, we can't divide a fraction and a decimal. So I'm going to change that decimal into negative 6 over 10. 6/10 is 6 over 10. Now I'm going to do leave, change, flip. I'm going to cross cancel. So after I cross cancel, I can multiply. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. Now they are opposite signs, which means I'm going to get a negative answer. And that's it for our review.